goals, policies, and personnel meetings on January 6th, 2025 at 6:32. Roll call. Trustee Belundis here. Trustee Santangelo
Here.
What's that?
Trustee Monahan.
Here.
In addition, we have Trustee Narayan, Trustee Fasco, Trustee Pesco. We have a quorum. Okay, public comments?
Hi, this is Meredith Zanani. Again, I just wanted to flag, I was surprised to see the how many new policies are listed, and comparing the list in the agenda to the policies that are on the website. It appears that they're all new. That could just be a title mismatch. But I just wanted to flag my concern that an excessive number of policies actually could make it harder for people to, and patrons especially, to find the relevant information they need for the policies. So I hope that the committee, when reviewing this list of policies, does confirm that they're all necessary policies and not duplicative of policies that are already in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I guess today we are going to be discussing the new policies. Unless we feel that they're ready to go get approved, then we'll seek the, we'll make the motion to approve that.
We do have one motion for approval of October BGPP.
Yes. All right. Can I have a motion to approve the October BGPP minutes?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I emailed Mike just about a typo earlier under the public comment. Just resident Damian Harrison is the last name. I just emailed you today.
Oh,
But
what time?
4 o'clock, maybe 3 o'clock. Yeah.
All right.
So just a minor change there to update the
Okay.
the spelling of the last name.
And it's going to be changed and updated.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Now we can start discussing the
Yeah,
policies.
I have, you know what I did for, you can see, we have a lot of policies, but in the front of it, I put a summary together that maybe we should go through, just spend a little time so we understand my reasoning why to add these to the website. And maybe I will come up with a categorization into groups, not to confuse the residents as suggested. Some of these are tools for employees, and some of it is education for both the employees and the residents. The first one is public information policy summary, and it explains the Law Open Meeting Act and the Freedom of Information Act and FOIAs and all the compliances, and it gives a general idea and summary of public information, what should be required by our library. This might fall into that category. A lot of these, some of these could be warranted again as a tool, education tool, and going forward to my replacement, so they have a better understanding. I think everybody should have an understanding of the next one, the public library funding policy, how the whole thing works, when, why, and where. And that ties into a third one. And again, these might be in a unique category by themselves, but it's important because there is confusion by everyone understanding the impact of tax levy on the library. It's a summary policy, and I think that's important, especially for staff to understand that we're dealing with taxpayers' money, not an open budget. Okay, and again, simplified in the sections. The next one is procedures to increase the tax levy. This just explains the whole process involved in it. And then I think this one's important. What's important for the library and posting policy summary. what we're allowed to post and what we should be posting, and making sure that public is encouraged to look at our websites and the information that's available. The next one is public library funding policy. Okay, and this just goes through, again, financial transparency, so forth, the budget process, staffs, the whole tax levy, the whole thing put together, and how we work as a library. Another important one, which we've failed in the past, not this administration, but records retention and disposal policy. So this is important because this is state requirements, and I need to make sure that everyone in the building understands this completely. Again, this might be in that separate. This might be an item in a separate category. The next is Elmwood Park's public responsibilities to the community. Okay. You can see, again, this, it talks about how we operate, the integrity of, and how we present the information, and what information is available, and how our processes, what we're trying to do is meet the community needs and everything. I need to document these things for future references by staff members and by library directors in the future. These are things that you learn on the job or you've known beforehand, and they're not covered in school. Okay. Employee Compensation Act. This is an important one. It goes through our requirements of what we have to post on salaries, including all the compensation packages. And, now things are changing quickly. The law reverted back on the exempt and non-exempt status. So, and I will have to update our manual that we're reviewing on that subject. And another one, the next one, was somewhat important to me, and a policy for the employees to follow Google Chat. What's allowed to, the problem that I have with it is that half the chats that go on should be departmental, not through the whole library. So I've given them enough language in here, and I've handed this out to them 3 weeks of my policy, and I'm waiting for some feedback on their position on the whole thing on this one. But I think it's something now that chat, since we're using Google, it is important to make sure that we have processes in place and procedures for staff members to use. The next one is the Illinois Municipal Budget Policy. And again, it refers back to the ILCS 330, and it promotes the transparency, accountability, much like everything else that we follow here. And also talks about capital projects and so forth. The next policy is the capital funding policy, and I did get questions from the auditors on that. And at that point, we did not have any capital projects, but we will in the future. Some of the work that's been done this year might fall under the umbrella of capital funding, which means that it would be falling under a depreciation expense. When the auditing firm comes out, I'll get a little bit more direction with them, because the question that I have is, for example, a lot of the tax codes write like individual costs. Well, we spend $30,000 in light bulbs. Now, there could have been 1,000 light bulbs or whatever, but to me, we enhanced, improved the lighting in there, and it should be a capital project. It's not one instance, it's 30, but some of them go by dollar amounts, and smaller businesses are allowed to set their own limits for it. So I want to get ahead of it with them before we get audited to get complete direction from it. All right. The next one we somewhat had before. The next two we almost had before, but what I tried to achieve here is that I gave instruction in there, if you read it, in situations on how staff should interact with patrons, especially, again, in the code of conduct. We've approved this one previously, but we've had certain instances where we kind of fail, that staff has to be trained better. Now, in the next couple of weeks, next week, we have, again, part of our training procedures, and staff is going to be trained on customer service. Everybody in the building, but it's important that I think it's easier for them to understand in situational what happens in this case, and that's how I've outlined the policy for them. All right. Another important one is this is also should be in part of the employee manual is our anti-discrimination policy, which is laid out to the American Library Association. And the next one is, since we had that incident with the First Amendment auditor coming in, I wrote a policy more effect that everyone understands their rights and our rights and how limited our rights are. So, and how to handle the situation with an auditor. Okay, and that kind of ties in back in. The problem that we had with the auditor is one employee did not realize to what extent they could be reported. So the policy's being rewritten and everybody's being retrained on the do's and don'ts for First Amendment auditors. And what goes on even beyond First Amendment auditors. What people can record and what they can't record. All right. The next policy is political campaigning policy that just outlines that the library maintains a neutral and nonpartisan environment. And, the whole thing, what these policies do, it's a commitment to fostering an inclusive and respectful and neutral environment that prioritizes community engagement, intellectual freedom, and operational transparency. These guidelines ensure that all patrons and staff feel welcome and safe while protecting the library's mission to serve as a hub for learning and civic engagement. By balancing individual rights with the library's responsibility to maintain order and privacy, these policies create a foundation for continued excellence and trust in library services. Together, they reinforce the library's dedication to being a valuable and accessible resource for the entire community. So, if you wouldn't mind, I would read through the policies, and then at the next meeting, we could review them and propose them to go to the board meeting. Any questions?
Madam Chair?
Concerns?
Madam Chair?
No, and in fact, I did read through the policies, and I think they're very, very detailed, and I don't think there's any questions what the policy is about and how to
Right.
proceed.
And now, I mean, what we could do is we could forward it before the next meeting. I've given Ann, the attorney, 95-page book already to review, which is going to take a long time. And, we could hold off on this one to Ann catch up. And I'll defer to you. What you think our next step should be? Should we hold off, wait, forward them to you for review, or?
Hold on. Can I say something first? Yeah. All right. So some of these feel like they're, like you said, some go in the employee manual, some feel like procedures versus actual policies themselves. Some are explanations of, hey, here's how this works.
Yeah.
Should maybe we consider kind of bucketing them?
Well,
as
that's
such?
that's what I was saying. I will do
Yeah,
that. I will
alright.
bucket them, and I'll present the bucket at the bucket list in the grouping, and I'll
And
come
then-
up with a clever category. But I
'cause
think
it's almost like
a
policy to catch all
Right,
for all those
Right.
things.
right. Some of them may not be. Well, a procedure or process is still procedure and process is still part of a policy. It's just
You don't really need
the
our
next step.
approval for that. I mean,
Right. That's
No,
fine.
That's the main
I,
thing.
I don't, but it's something that's going to the staff member and to the community, and I feel more of this. I respect everybody's opinion to read it and look at it.
Mhm.
I see the importance of it. I see the importance of what librarians lack, and I see what they exceed at. And this is something in the gray area. Can't be expected, but they need to know enough or need to know a place to go for it. Okay, because the plan is after we get done with all these policies, they have them accessible online, but a quick reference book will be at each of the service desks for quick referral. And we run into too many situation will come up. What do we do? With new people, as many new people as we have, we just want to make sure that we have all our bases covered. And our staff meetings, we try to go through one or two. Every Wednesday we meet at 2:30. Anyone is welcome to join us. And it's the staff meeting is open to anyone who has the time available. And most of the time, what I do is that the policy is reviewed and presented by an employee, by a fellow staff member, not by me. So we try to get a subject matter expert to review the policy.
I mean, I'm not on the committee, but I'm grateful you laid it out, because if you didn't lay it out, somebody would be moaning about something.
I wanna make sure I cover
You
it.
tried, pushing one past us without letting us know. So
Right.
not being on a committee, that was the only thing I would
that's
add.
it.
I like that it's out there, and that's all.
I mean, it's First Amendment of policy. No, but we need to know how to act. And we need to have it documented. Anything we need to know, we need to document.
I mean, I guess I disagree with that. I think there is trouble in putting too much on the website too, and
How many
like it's
people
not
look
helpful
at
if you're just
it?
going to drown the information. I think,
But if
and I think it's important that we don't overstep our own bounds and requiring things to be approved by us when it's up to you. Like the patron interaction policy, I think it's nice of you to ask us, but you don't really need our approval for how staff are trained.
I
on that one.
appreciate that, Trustee Monahan. But the majority of responsibility for you here is to set policy. For you to follow. Not for me to set policy for us to follow. And I'm treating everything as I want to make sure all my bases are covered.
Mm-hmm.
Because things get interpreted always the opposite way that I'm presenting it. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm overly cautious.
I mean, it can't hurt to have them there. We just have to review them every 2 years. Then so we have another
okay.
A through
Well,
Q to
you know
look
what?
at in that list every 2
Right.
years. But
But you know what? The top part will probably have a lot of libraries have 25 policies.
mm-hmm.
What I've seen. We might have 25 to 30, and then we might have 15 in that other category. And that's more for the staff members to look at. And you know what? There might be some people that want to look and see how the whole library works. They might hear something and they want to check on it themselves.
No, I think there's some that's informational for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, go ahead, you're including us in, and you
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
And then some, we definitely need to approve as the board. Right. We can approve all of them as more of a nice to have, right, if you will.
Sure.
But yeah, so, I would like a bucketing of which things
Okay,
that we're
I will do
approving,
that.
the actual policy that the public needs to be, for instance, the patron, conduct, et cetera.
Okay.
Those kind of things, because those are a little more weighty. The other ones, they're nice to have. And we
Yeah.
can give you feedback on. Yeah, this looks good, and
The
but here's
budget
what I would
process,
add.
Yeah,
or,
I'll
yeah, exactly, the budget process. I know in a couple of these things, there's some background on non-home rule versus home rule, and that might confuse somebody if they don't know if we're home
Right.
rule or non-home rule. So those, I think we want to
Yeah,
clarify
I'm
as
gonna-
well. They're informational only, but it would be good not to
Yeah.
confuse
I
staff
agree
and/or
with that.
people that are looking at.
Even when I have already some changes for Ann with the manual, and we'll be spending a lot of time on that, I think. And Ann, I'll talk to you offline about where we're at, how much more I can forward you, and where I think at least give you an outline of what I think I'm going to have to change.
Right.
And I might have too much in there. But I want to make sure that even I went in more detail on so the staff understands their benefits, their medical benefits. It was too vague.
Yeah.
Everything was in a paragraph form. As you can see, I like bullet items. Make sure that the point is what they know. And you know what? It's just like, you know, with children. They hear you, but are they listening? You know, they read the packet, but how much of it do they repeat? And you know, especially the IMF. IMF is very important. I sit down and I explain to them, and I even calculated to today's dollar. And they, you know, need to know what's available to them if they happen to get long-term sickness and so forth. And the same thing with the medical insurance. It's constantly changing. It's a huge impact on our prior year. The other thing is to make sure that the HR policies are locked down solid. And that's an important to me. And that's where the attorneys will be reviewing that there are processes in place to support anything, any discrimination claims, and so forth.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of it's information that should be part of the employee manual.
Yeah.
Right. Like, as you just
And
mentioned,
then
the
it-
IMRF.
Right.
The general public's probably not going to look for that. Although
Right.
you could still have it on the site.
Right.
Did you know that they could pay an IRMF? And here's what that means.
Yeah.
It seems like that's part of an employee
Sure.
manual. So, yeah, I would say
It's
before you
just,
bring it to the board.
you're right. I will put it in buckets. I just feel more comfortable that you at least read it, share it.
Right. Before you
And
bring-
I'm looking for input if there's any input.
So do you want to go through it by next month and put them in the buckets, or do we want to talk about each item today, or do we want to just do the whole full conversation next time?
No,
I'm just trying to follow where we are
you know
here.
what? I think, Rochelle, Mike, Trustee Montana, how about if you and I do the bucket? And we'll share it, then I'll share it with everybody and see what, you know, the buckets that we do. I think it'd be, you know, unless you want to do it right now. I mean, I'm open. We have nothing but time.
I guess it makes sense to
Sure,
do it.
your meeting chair.
When you say bucket list, you're talking about
Different grouping,
Uh-huh.
policy
Mm-hmm.
versus need to know, informational.
Okay.
And we could go through the list right now, right from the agenda, and do that. Or
And do we have to have it all go through, Anne, if some of it is just informational? Would that cut that 95 pages that we're giving her down to
You know
40
what?
pages?
But, you know, I understand that. I understand that, but we have the legalities, especially now that what's been going on in the world today. I think she should review it all.
So 95 pages is not
It's not the.
the first one.
Oh, okay.
Personnel.
Okay.
But
These are
any
the-
perfect.
Yeah.
This
This
is
is-
not- this
okay.
is not- this is something, but it's other. It's
Okay.
something else.
No, thank you.
So it's up to everyone here if we want to go through it.
Well, you can use your summary page and just say what looks like
Yeah. Right.
policy versus procedure,
Yeah.
and just take a first crack at it.
Because I was under the impression that this is going to be like these are going to be policies that we're discussing, we're going to put into. You know,
I know, but there has to, Trustee Ellis, there has to be a check and balance. Okay, the trustees, the process is that I might develop the process, but it's your position to review it and give your yay or nay or blessing on it to make sure that it's your policies. And I just want to take that in consideration. You know, if I'm guilty of anything, it'd probably be I should have reviewed more with staff, but staff is pretty busy, so I've limited the amount that I give them. But the employee policy, like the paid time off, I prepped them on that, and we will have discussions on that because that's going to be a long discussion. That's going to probably be one discussion or one debate when we have that discussion, maybe next month or maybe not till March. But the public information policy summary, I mean, and the first two are more informational, I feel, or the first three are more informational. Does anybody disagree with that?
Yeah, because you're really just explaining everything about OMA
Right.
and
Yeah.
everything else.
Okay, and I think the
Yeah, I
next
guess my point too just was saying it's not like a policy. Like, we couldn't change that if we tried. You know, these are
could
this
be
is like
wording.
this is the
I mean, I
you know, how
wrote
it is.
I
We can
wrote
change the
it.
wording, but like
No, you can't change
you know
it. But
that's what it is. So
you know, it's in my interpretation too.
Hmm.
You know, the tax levy summary is probably the same.
Mhm.
I think the posting of policy information in that's probably information. Could be both, but informational. I think the funding policy should be part of the normal policies. Record retention is definitely a policy. Elmwood Parks Library's responsibility, it's more informational to the community. Our responsibilities to the community. The Employee Compensation Act is also included in the employee manual. So we could just say that we put that one in, leave that one in there. The Google chat,
that's purely for your manual. I don't think the public needs
Well-
to read that, do they?
Yeah, there could be some liability though if they're using it wrong. I don't know. I mean, it could go both ways in my eyes.
it could, but I think it's because it's how we use it internally.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be more like that employee manual. Like
Yeah, but are they responding using employee chat to answer public questions or just
No.
internal?
no, it's
Oh,
all internal.
okay.
It's all internal.
Yeah. So then, then employee manual, because really it's more of an HR kind of don't get in trouble using this in the wrong way and for the wrong purposes.
And then you could switch without notice to a different chat platform, without without scheduling to review that we change the policy. It's just
Well, you
making it easier for you.
Just
really.
say chat. You just take out the word
Yeah, or
Google.
take out Google, whatever.
Yeah. Okay. The next Illinois municipal budget that's probably informational. Capital funding policy has to be on it has to be on our website.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I believe that the patron interaction policy has always been a part of it, I believe, and so is the patron behavior, which we approved earlier, but we've added a couple things. The anti-discrimination policy alignment, that's probably more of the employee manual, along with the First Amendment auditing policy. Or is that more objective that it could be?
Would you say we had this already?
Yeah,
You were
so
pointing to something.
no, the First Amendment.
That one's
auditing,
new, right?
That's
Yeah.
new.
That's new, right.
It's new.
Yeah, we should review that one probably in more detail, I think.
Okay. All right. Unofficial reporting policy. This is a little bit different. I think this should be a policy, but I want to see how, I can't remember exactly how different it is from the other reporting policy,
Mhm.
but I know there were some points that were brought up, so I will see if this is just a rework of the original one.
Yeah, I think if it's about patron behavior, and that one is, then it's definitely a policy that we
Yeah.
should review.
Yeah, that one is. The political campaign policy, I believe there was one that superseded this one.
That one came up in a previous meeting, and
Yeah.
we had
and
decided
you know
it was
what, this-
already in the
a long
behavior.
time, but we never brought it to a vote. I got
Yeah.
a matrix that shows, the process that we went through. On this.
Yeah.
But okay, we went through them.
All right, so we'll do that again or whatever to vote on it officially next month.
Yeah. Yeah, so what I'll do is the policy ones I'll separate out. The employee manual, I'll separate out. And then the information will be separated out and be added to the website. So we have 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we have 7 informational policies. And then we have 1, 2, 3 employee policies. So I think that probably leaves us with 7 or 8 policies to look at next month. And maybe if that's the case, I will add for discussion the paid time off policy. We'll look at that separately and in detail.
So the employee policies will go to the personnel.
Yeah, I will identify that.
Personnel manual.
We'll identify that out.
And that's something that will review next month.
So,
So that's going to be added
Uh,
on
you know what,
Ann's,
here, I'll tell you exactly.
bucket.
We will review the library funding policy, the records retention, the capital funding policy, patron interaction and the patron behavior, and the First Amendment auditor policy, the unofficial reporting policy.
So that's 7.
7.
Too much for one meeting?
And then you're going to check on the political campaigning if we approved the last time.
We didn't. We never got a second. It never made it to.
It never
we
made
made
it.
it to motion.
Okay.
I think what we did, we had some changes or something that we wanted to make that we never made it. It never got presented.
So even the amendment audit policy, right? The First Amendment audit policy. I mean, this is kind of a mixture of here's what you should do when this happens versus here's what they're allowed to do.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe separate that out of the policy because if she's going to review it, I think she's going to be more looking for, okay, what's the public facing piece? What can you say and not say? And then what's the internal piece? Yes. Should you be advising the staff like this? Legally, you're not going to get in trouble for doing that, but here's some things to consider.
Okay, that more of informational or employee manual.
Yeah, it looks like it's kind of a mixture of both.
Okay. I get it. You know what? We get it.
Yeah, well, I mean, just separate out the sections that more are employee manual versus,
Okay.
public and consumable.
So I will forward the Word documents for the 6 policies to the attorneys for review for the next board. I will put it on the agenda. And then I asked that we would, well, right now, I'll leave it open because I know I'm going to have to change the PTO policy a little bit on the exempt and non-exempt portion. So let me see where I get with that, and I'll add it to the agenda for February for review if the attorneys have had an opportunity to review that policy.
So which policies do you want feedback on? You had said them.
There's 6 policies. No, there were 7. We took the First Amendment off.
Records retention. Public funding, right?
Right.
Funding, records retention,
Capital funding,
capital.
patron interaction,
Yeah, patron interaction,
behavior code.
records retention,
Yeah, that chat.
patron behavior, unofficial reporting policy.
And then First Amendment.
Yeah, First Amendment.
And time for, okay, so get feedback. You want feedback on those?
And I'll send them.
Right, there's no new business.
Well, review of personnel policy manual,
Yeah,
but
that's-
just linked.
Yeah, we just discussed that, and that's gonna, Ann's gonna be reviewing that and